Oh, welcome back as per usual. How's it been for you?
It's been good. I'm glad the strike is over. Now I can talk about shit. Jeez.
I know, openly.
118 days.
Oh, that's a record, right, for the actors?
I don't know.
I think I read that was a record for the
It
actors.
is, I guess so.
Man, well, and we gotta shout out our young Chop Top back there. I was talking to him.
Yes, we met before.
So
yes.
good.
Dog will hunt.
Yeah,
Get that bitch.
has a coat hanger and all.
I know. Very
So
jealous.
good. Okay, so we're going to talk about Chop Top, of course, in a bit. But now that we're allowed to talk about things, can we just discuss Natty Knox?
Sure.
So, how did you get involved in filming that?
I was in, I was at the Museum of Science and Industry, and I was just walking into the submarine room where that giant captured submarine is, and my manager called me, this is a couple years ago, and said, this guy wants you in this particular movie, and I was a little reluctant to do it. I was just thinking, and but anyway, just looking up at that submarine, thinking, God, that's a big fucking submarine.
And it is.
And that was where I said yes. So that was that moment of like, that was my aha moment. Was the Museum of Science and Industry, and I ended up doing it. It was Dwight Little as our director, and he had done A Nightmare on Elm Street. He's done
Halloween.
yeah,
4.
Halloween 4. I mean, he's he's got his, he's a vet, and and then when he was able to add Robert Englund to it, that was very cool. I've known Robert for a long time, but I've never worked for him. With him, I have actually. He was the original Mayor Buckman in 2001 Maniacs, and then I replaced him in the sequel. We had a lot. We've had a lot of encounters at different conventions and stuff, and I think he's a great guy.
Yeah.
And so it was great to that Dwight got him on board, and then of course Danielle Harris, who's here this weekend as well. Who is awesome, and I will say that without giving any spoilers, this is Natty Knox, NattyKnocks. It's on TV right now, streaming.
I also want to know, what are some of the challenges in playing the character of Abner Honeywell?
Well, the challenge was because we shot out of sequence. I never really knew whether I was, the good Abner or the bad Abner.
Yeah.
So I was so glad that the director knew. He would say, you're bad Abner today. I was like, oh, okay, all right. So then I got bad.
How crazy do your eyes need to be?
Yeah, exactly. But I did want to say just about Danielle that I have a scene, without, again, going to a big spoiler on Natty Knox, where I am strangling her. Just fun day, fun afternoon. And I come up behind her, and I think I put a rope around her neck or something like that. Anyway, she screamed because she sees me in the mirror, kind of coming up behind her, and she's screaming because I wasn't really strangling her because she was full throat, and she screamed so well. I've been in this business for a long time. I've heard a lot of screams in my day, but Danielle's scream was unbelievably good. It was like so blood-curdling and loud and like, wow. And I stopped what I was doing. I broke the scene. I said, "Are you okay?"
Oh my God.
"I'm acting, Bill." Oh my God. I said, that's the best scream I've ever heard in my life. So she can scream. So if you're ever doing a Scream Queen contest, not that you would be, but
She got the name, honestly.
yeah, she between her and my old buddy Caroline Williams,
Yes.
who played Stretch in Texas Chainsaw 2, she screamed an awful lot. Not as loud and blood-curdling as Danielle, but she screamed like, morning till night, for months at a time.
Yeah.
She was amazing. So those are my two favorite Scream Queens.
One more Natty Knox question, then I'll move on. I'm sorry. I love this movie so much, so I'm
Okay.
nerding out.
All right.
That movie had an amazing young cast.
Yes.
Like, those children and young adults were so very talented. What was it like working with such an amazing young cast?
It's actually good. It's good because yeah, they're all very eager and willing to do all the crazy stuff that's asked of us on these movies. I thought they did a great job. I was very happy. I do remember I did an episode of what is it called? It was with Robert Stack, Unsolved Mysteries. And I did that many years ago in Salt Lake City, and it was called Lucky School. Great episode. And me and my wife, show up at a grade school. We've got like a homemade bomb. We're gonna blow up the 4th grade if you don't give us some money. And it was so funny because there was a bunch of kids. I mean, it was actually a real school with real kids. I mean, they knew that it was like we were making a movie or an episode. And but I found that the kids were very quick to try to be friendly, like "Hi, Dale," that kind of thing. And they're supposed to be scared. I mean, they're not real actors, so they were supposed to be scared. So I went out of my way to be mean to them, and they were like, "Hi," and I go, "Shut up!" So when that was during lunch. So when we actually shot it, they were like properly frightened. But the kids in Natty Knox, I thought they did a great job. They were older than 4th grade, so that was helpful. I didn't have to yell at them. Their parents do that.
Yeah, I was very impressed with young Channing.
Yeah.
She was the youngest one. I think she's 15 now, so I'm not sure how old she was when you guys were filming it. But oh my goodness, none of those children were wooden, or just believed it. And
and
so
you don't mess with her because she's like an Aikido
She
champion.
is.
She was showing off the fact that she could literally kick like the hat off my head kind of thing. It's like, okay.
She's like shorter than I am, by the way.
Chill out, kid.
She is tiny. Yeah.
She's frightening.
She's amazing. She is so great.
I will tell you that I do have a couple of more movies coming out that I can talk about.
Let's do it.
One of them is it's a farm classic with Kane Hodder called Hayride to Hell. And that should be coming out pretty soon.
And that also has your daughter in it, correct?
Yes, yeah, my younger daughter Marion Moseley is in that, and we shot that on a farm in Pennsylvania, and the script was written and the movie was financed by the farmer of the farm that we shot at. So that was very cool, Farmer Bob.
Seriously?
So yeah, and so I played kind of his, farm fantasy. Because it's a story about how a town wants to basically buy out Farmer Bob, who's been on that farm. It's a legacy farm of 100 years or 200 years or whatever. And Farmer Bob doesn't want to sell, and so there's a battle, and the townspeople are represented. The evil townspeople are really represented by Kane Hodder, and so it was a lot of fun. There was a scene, and I won't give you a spoiler, but there was a scene when they gave me the fire department of the little town came out, and they had a flamethrower, real flamethrower, and they wanted to make sure that I didn't burn myself up, and the scene was basically shooting Kane with a flamethrower. So I really enjoyed that one. And then I also did a movie called The Fetus, F-E-T-U-S, and that was with Lauren Rivera, who is, of course, the final girl in Terrifier 2. So we had a great time. I play her dad. I mean, I guess it's that phase of my career. Poor little girl. And then I did a movie recently with Lynn Shay from The Conjuring, and another 2001 Maniacs.
Right.
And that is called Scared to Death, and that is coming out one of these days. So yeah. So I mean, they're kind of like planes, getting ready to land at some point. So.
You probably do not have this information. Do you know if we're going to get a limited theatrical, it's going to be direct to streaming, or there are going to be physical copies for purchase?
I don't know. At this point in my career, if the check clears and I don't get hurt, that's
you're done. After this, you're done.
I'm good. And if they distribute it, great. If they don't,
you still got paid.
Yeah, it's kind of callous, but yeah.
You did your job and you got paid for it.
That's right. Yeah.
I saw you had a question.
Yeah.
Okay, with the comes to Texas Chainsaw and then the Texas Chainsaw 2, both directed by Toby Hooper.
Yes.
Nubbins. I never realized, now I watched this movie 1,000 times, I never realized that Nubbins was the hitchhiker from the original movie, okay? Is there any type of backstory that, like, had brothers, that was written or that you thought about where you're carrying them around all the time? I mean, is there a certain type of relationship out that wasn't filmed in the movie, but that was kind of like thought of, or?
No, not really.
Okay.
No, actually, it's so funny because when I did Texas Chainsaw 3D, back in 2003 or 4, whatever it was, I remember the director calling me up to welcome me to the cast, and I was cast as the cook. And I said, well, God, that's like asking, Curly to play Moe in the remake of the Three Stooges. I'm Chop Top.
Yeah.
He said, well, they don't have the rights to Chop Top. Chop Top is Chainsaw 2, and that's owned now by Sony Pictures. And the original Chainsaw has a different ownership. So any new characters are not included in the rights to the original. So I was told that, so there can't be a Chop Top in that 3D one. So you're going to have to play the cook. And I remember the director calling me up and saying, welcome to the cast, welcome. And I said, thank you very much. He said, you're playing the cook? Yeah. He said, well, how does it feel to be playing the father? And I said, well, the cook is actually the oldest brother. And he goes, no, he's the father. And then all of a sudden, this little voice in my head said, shut up, Bill. And that's how I've lasted this long. Shut up. Shut the fuck up. And so I went, it feels good. It feels darn good.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because he said, well, when you play the cook, we're going to get you a nice fat suit. And I said, a fat suit? I said, well, the cook is a gaunt man. He said, no, he's fat. Shut up, Bill. Shut up, Bill. So, yeah, okay, that sounds good. And so that was, anyway, so to your point, there are no parents. There's grandma and grandpa. There are no parents. The cook is the oldest brother. Then there are the twins, Chop Top and the Hitchhiker. And Bubba, aka Leatherface, is the baby of the family.
There you go.
So but we're all in meat, so that's good.
Yeah.
Same mother?
See, probably.
Okay.
He's like, I haven't thought that
Don't
one
know.
out yet.
Okay.
Not even sure if the mother is human or not. Maybe just it might have been a sow. In the pigs. But your question is, what I understood it to be was that the Hitchhiker was around, that Chop Top went off to Vietnam.
Yes.
And came back with a head wound and the plate in his head, and that it was actually under his scalp, but it kept itching, so he just, jerry-rigged a coat hanger and, a little cricket lighter and started scratching away. That's, to me, that's how I understood it. Whether or not that's true, or, I don't know. I think you kind of have to figure that part out, but, yeah. I do remember, doing that Chainsaw 3D movie, which came out as Chainsaw, I don't even know what. I just remember they did some kind of a test screening, and they had some kind of a questionnaire for people that came to watch it, and they found out that the word massacre didn't test well. So they called it Texas Chainsaw 3D. They dropped the word massacre, and I'm thinking, who are they showing this to?
Right.
Massacre? Ooh, massacre. I don't like
That's
that.
why we're going.
Yeah. So anyway, there's many stories about that. I looked, the checks cleared, and I didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
Shut up, Bill.
Yeah, right. Shut up, Bill.
Can you talk to us a little bit about All American Massacre and why that was never publicly released?
All American Massacre was originally just a 5 or 10 minute short that Toby Hooper's son, William, aka Tony Hooper, did just to show off his computer graphics skills. And that was probably back in '99, I think. And I remember him calling up and saying, we want to, I want to do this short, this little backyard thing. And he wanted me to be in it as Chop Top, and I was thinking, but of course his dad, wanted to get another job. So, so there was part of it was, yeah, okay, I'll do it. And when I got to work with Tony was great. It was a great story. It started out with Chop Top. 10 years later, in a cell in a mental penitentiary. And what I liked was that he still had his Sonny Bono wig, but then when he took it off, the plate was a lot bigger. And it just showed the passage of time that the more scratching, the bigger the plate got. And then there was
the Sonny Bono wig damaged.
Yes, the Sonny Bono wig was still there. And then there was a news crew, like a Geraldo Rivera news crew that comes to the warden's office and wants to interview Chop Top about the history of his life or whatever. And so then that starts a flashback. And the flashback includes the hitchhiker and Chop Top before Chop Top goes off to Vietnam. What I thought was really great about it, I don't know if y'all know this guitar player named Buckethead.
Yeah.
The Buckethead is world's greatest guitar player, by the way, and but he's tall and thin as a string bean. And they wanted Buckethead to play Leatherface. And so they gave Buckethead a fat suit. Fat suits are hot, I guess. And so here's Buckethead in a fat suit, playing Leatherface. It was very funny. It just got, I think what happened was it just ended up getting, I don't know, it just kind of kept getting bigger and stranger, and finally just kind of, I think it was just kind of overwhelming. And it's out there. I've seen some footage of it. It's pretty awesome. But, I think there's something on YouTube, like, searching for the lost All-American Massacre. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's out there somewhere. So keep looking. I will say that thanks to All-American Massacre, I got the job as Otis. Because I was called up right after I did that, and the guy that did my makeup was a guy named Todd Bates, since deceased. But he was a big Chainsaw fan and could do makeup, and he did the Chop Top makeup. And right after I did those couple days on All-American Massacre, I got a call from a friend of mine who worked at Universal Studios. And he was in charge of Universal City Walk, and there was a horror, I don't know if it's still on or not, but there was a little horror award show that, in-house for Universal called the Igor Awards. And they were looking for an MC. And this guy called me up and said, "You're a monster, right?" And I went, "Yeah, I guess so." And he said, well, it was a paying gig, so that was exciting. And he said, "We want you to MC this horror award show." And I said, "Would you like me to do it as Chop Top?" And he said, well, let me get back to you on that. So he called up, and it turned out because I was an Army of Darkness, I was part of the Universal family. And so it was okay for me to be Chop Top as the MC of this little outdoor award show. And so I called up Todd Bates, I said, "Can you make me up as Chop Top?" And I had a ratty tuxedo, and I was going to do this MC as Chop Top. And so all that worked out fine. And then one of the award recipients was Rob Zombie, who was getting an award for his videos and his, some scary kind of horror videos. And so he came out, and I introduced him. "Man, here he is, Rob Zombie." And he comes out and he freaks out. And he told me later, he said, "I was backstage listening to you, and I thought, that guy's doing a decent Chop Top." And then he comes out and he goes, "Oh my God, it's Chop Top." And so a month later, I got a copy of the script for House of a Thousand Corpses. And with Rob's manager at the time asking if I wanted to play this character called Otis Driftwood. I was like, what the heck is that? So I remember reading the script going, "Shit, it's a big part. Otis. So that's how I got the job. So thank you, All-American Massacre.
Yeah. I saw another question right there, sir. Yes.
Yeah, I know you worked with Bill Ensemble and House Court Records before, right? And I just want to know, are you doing anything musically right now with them or anybody else?
Not right now. I just put out another Spider Mountain CD, I mean, I still call it a CD. I don't know, some of you younger people might not know what that is, but.
At least you called it a CD and not a compact disc.
Yes, yes. But Phil wants to do something else. I mean, I missed him when he came through LA a couple months ago, but my two daughters were my proxies, and they showed up and they went backstage and hung out with Phil and his wife Kate. Yeah, I'd like to. He wants to apparently do some more stuff after we put out an EP called Bill and Phil, Songs of Darkness and Despair, another happy title for me, and it's good. And so he wants to do more, so I hope so. Also, I'm still hoping to find Buckethead again. Buckethead is very good at just vanishing, and I heard from him like about a year ago. After not hearing from him for like 15 years or something, and I heard from him and we chatted amiably, and then he's gone again. So, but apparently he's doing shows, so I don't know. That's just the way it goes. So no hard plans. What I wanted to do is actually just put out a vinyl of some of my greatest hits. So that may come out sometime.
One of my favorite roles you do is Luigi from Repo. How much different is it working on a musical compared to like your normal horror movie?
That's a real big difference. Because what you do, what we did for that movie, and maybe it's true of all musicals, is we recorded everything first. And then, weeks later we went up, we recorded the whole soundtrack in Los Angeles. And then, 6 weeks later we went up to Toronto to actually shoot the movie. And so once you have recorded your songs or whatever and the feeling in each of the songs, the whole trick is to make sure that it matches when you are acting. If you're acting and you're angry and this happy tune is coming out of your mouth, it looks a little weird. But that's why we had, I'm so glad for our director Darren Bousman, because he was very good about just making sure that when we recorded the song that it was like it's going to match what he had in mind for the characters. Also, I learned that when you do a musical, it's good to sing along as opposed to trying to just do the mouth like. You sing along as they're playing the music, so it looks like you're actually air is coming out of it. But it was a lot of fun. I loved that. And then we did, of course, after that we did the Devil's Carnival, and then we did Devil's Carnival 2. I wasn't in that so much because I think they ran out of money. Uh-oh.
Bill, so between the time of the Devil's Rejects and then Free from Hell, was there ever like a point during that time span where you were kind of wondering, or the cast was like wondering, are we doing a third movie, Rob? Or did he just kind of call one day and say, hey, I need you back for the third one?
Yes, answer number 2. He, basically, as an actor, it sometimes gets a little difficult because sometimes you're raring to go and no one else is, and we have to wait for that that magic call. I do remember when Rob called up and said, I'm working on a script for the third movement, Free from Hell, of the rejects of the Firefly family trilogy or whatever you call it. And I said to him, I said, hey, that's great. I'm very happy to hear that. And I said, what would be cool is if you wrote a little part for my wife. And my wife is Lucinda Jenny. She's been in Rain Man, Thelma and Louise. Look her up, Jenney. So she's Thinner. Yeah, excuse me.
I love Thinner.
Thinner. Mothman Prophecies.
Yes.
A Rogue River, one of our faves. But anyway, so Rob, and I said it in a way so that if Rob didn't do it, it wouldn't be it wouldn't be a deal breaker. Hey, casually. And a couple months later, he calls up and says, well, I finished the script, and I said, oh yeah, that's great. He goes, yeah, and I wrote a part for Lucinda. And I was like, oh man, that's awesome. He goes, well, here's the good part. You get to kill her. So that's how that went down. And I do in the movie. I don't know if you've seen it, but she plays a bounty hunter, and a worker over.
How did she deal with that?
She was very.
Is she like, babe?
She didn't really know what she was getting into until she got on the set, and what happens is she's with a partner, Bill Oberst Jr. and they come upon Foxy. They come upon Richard Brake, and they're giving him a hard time. They got guns on him, and then all of a sudden off screen there's a shotgun blast, and not Richard, but Bill, her partner, is his head kind of explodes. And anyway, and she's there next to him, and the camera's on her, and just all of a sudden there's this blast of brains and blood, all over her face. And so what they were doing was that they basically had a load of I think it was banana and food coloring. I mean, whatever they make brains out of these days. And so, but it was very important for her to not anticipate that she was going to get this load of banana blood in her face. And so, there was a time constraint. So you don't really want to blow some banana in somebody's face and then have to clean it all off and reset. And so, that was her big challenge. And she was like a pro. She took that, those brains. I was very impressed. I was like standing off, just watching her, and she was like awesome. I thought, man, that woman, that's why I married her.
Out but we were talking about Road River yesterday, and I was
Yeah.
just wondering, because when you told me your wife was working with you, and I'm like, all right, that movie is so fucked up.
Yeah, it's fucked
And
up.
it's great though, I love
Yeah.
it, but I was just wondering if there were any crazy stories. I know Art Alexis was in it, Everclear. Do you guys have like any like crazy banter between each other filming that movie? Because it was so messed up. Like the sister ends up with the brother.
Yeah, I mean, we made up a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I do remember that Lucinda at one point has it's a rubber frying pan. And we have a captive girl, and we're working her over, and she escapes, and she like runs up some basement stairs, and there at the top of the stairs, there's Lucinda with this rubber frying pan. She's supposed to hit her on the head and knock her out, but it's the frying pan's rubber. Well, Lucinda, they did a couple of takes, and so Lucinda, she's into it, and so she banged this poor girl Michelle Page on the head a bunch of times, and Michelle ended up with a kind of a mini concussion and had to go to the hospital. But that's my wife, damn it.
You must be so proud.
I'm so proud. Yeah, that's showbiz. That is showbiz.
Man, but I know this isn't the Lucinda panel, but I love your wife. I've never had the pleasure to meet her.
She's a hoot.
I hope I can one day. We gotta get Phil put together at one of these shows.
Yeah, well, she's happy now because we finally finished our kitchen remodel. So I don't know if y'all have been through that, but it's
After remodel.
fucking nightmare.
Yes.
So now she's happy,
Yes, it's done.
happier.
She has her kitchen back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, now it's we bought a 1928 house, so like everything needs to be remodeled. So.
Yeah. What? So next project?
I want it to be the roof. We live in California, where apparently El Nino is going to soak us from January to April of next year. So I thought the roof, but there's so many things. I mean, you could just
The
kind of
roof is a
reach your hand.
priority.
You can reach your hand in a hat full of different oh yeah, the garage. That's falling apart. How about some windows? Kind stuff like that. So.
Set of Repo, did you get to interact with Sarah Brightman very much?
Oh, yeah, sure.
What was she like?
Yeah, she's a punk. It's wild because she thinks she's so, usually she's so ethereal on stage. But she's black leather. She's down. Cool. I mean, the fact that she, was able to be hoisted, with, her eyes being plucked out and stuff like that. I mean, that was pretty cool.
the person next to you.
So a couple weeks ago, we were surprised to see the movie called The Convict, and I was wondering if you had any set stories working with Julio on that in general.
Yeah. Actually, I don't smoke weed, and so I was a little worried because there was we have a weed, we pass a roach between us. And they were, the director, Mike Mendez, said, Coolio is, we bust some college kids or high school kids, whatever they were, and we get their weed stash. We're like the security guards or the cops, and they're all freaked out, and we told them to get out of there, and then we smoked their weed, and so Coolio has this weed, and he's like smoking this roach, and he's passing it, and then he's supposed to pass it to me. And what I said was, look, I don't really want to smoke that weed. So, and I think it was just tobacco or something, but I don't smoke that stuff. So I said, why don't you not pass it? Just keep, hitting that roach. And then I'll say, hey man, don't bogart that, and, do all that kind of stuff. That was like my only moment. I gotta say though that when I did the convent, I had come off, I don't think I had worked for over a year after Army of Darkness. And I think at that point I really thought my career was over. I don't know why, because I wasn't getting any work, so you always think this is the end. And I remember getting the job at the convent through my cousin, who was like helping finance the movie or something. Somehow I got it was like a little, I was given like this little, golden ticket to be in the movie. And I remember driving out to the set of the convent, and I was so scared. I've never been that afraid before. And this was long after, a lot of work. But I hadn't done it for a while, and for some reason, I just had this psychology that I was driving to my doom. And I remember getting closer and closer and just like thinking, I'm gonna, go home and tell them I'm sick. I just literally, and I finally pulled up, and I remember getting out of the car, going to my little trailer. And before I got to the little trailer, a couple of the kids in the cast, came up and said, "Oh God, we're such big fans of yours. Oh, we can't wait to work with you." And I'm literally dying inside. I'm going, "Hey, that's great," having a heart attack. And I remember it saying, "Thanks a lot," and opening the trailer door and literally falling in onto the floor. and I remember kind of kicking the door closed. And I just had that, I was terrified. I don't know. You'd think that once you started to, work, that it would dissipate. It didn't really. So when I look at that performance, I think that's pretty good for a guy who was really freaked out. So, excuse me. That is my tale of woe. And then it was all good after that.
Anyone else in the back?
Oh yeah, what is that?
Cough drop.
Oh yeah, hey, great.
It's the only
I
way.
thought it was like a wad of gum.
No, but trade secret. The only way I can sit up here and talk for 4 hours straight is that, So and it's been a very coughing weekend. Like a lot of the guests have just all of a sudden had coughing fits. It must maybe it's something in the air. It must be.
Well, also I've been going, Dog will hunt.
Right.
Yeah.
Something on the stage, because
It's on the throat.
It's not just you. It's a lot of people halfway
Good.
through.
Yeah, it's very
So
good.
I've been doing this to all the kids.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Of course, I'm here for you with cough
All right,
drops.
thanks.
Okay, I saw someone back there though. Yes.
What was it like working with Rob Zombie, and what was one of your favorite things working with him?
I love working with Rob. Rob and I have pretty much the same kind of aesthetic, if you want to call it that. Working on House of a Thousand Corpses, he was a little formal, went really stick to the script, and it was his first film, and other for me it was just like I had to kind of I followed pretty much in lockstep. But then it's so funny because I didn't really know Otis pretty much for the movie. I mean, I did everything right. I said the lines, I hit the marks, I had the makeup. I mean, but I wasn't really completely connected with Otis until about 6 weeks after we had finished shooting. And Rob needed to add a few more scenes or whatever, a few more minutes onto our running time. And so we met over at Wayne Toth's studio, Wayne being the makeup guy. And that was for the Run Rabbit Run scene. And that's where Otis goes, hunting humans ain't nothing but nothing. They all run like scared little rabbits. Run, rabbit, run. Run, rabbit! And that was when I finally connected with Otis. And it was so funny because by then, by the time we did the Devil's Rejects, which wasn't that long afterwards, I was like ready. I consider House of a Thousand Corpses kind of like you're gonna buy a car, you go to the dealer, you kick the tires, you haggle, whatever is going on. And then Devil's Rejects is you bought the car, now take it out on the highway and let's see what this baby can do. I mean, that's basically how it happened. And it was that 6 weeks, literally 6 weeks after we had finished shooting, when I was doing that Run Rabbit Run scene in Wayne Toth's studio, when I really got Otis, so that by the time we did Devil's Rejects, I was ready to go. So, yeah. I don't know if that helps.
What's one of your favorite scenes as an audience member of any movie at all?
Any movie at all?
Not just his, any movie?
Okay, it would be anything with Gregory Peck in the movie of Moby Dick. So, I mean, Gregory Peck as Captain Ahab in Moby Dick is like, that to me is like, that's my jam, whatever that term is. So that would be it. Yeah.
So, you work a lot, obviously, you're primarily known for, Chop Top and Otis and Luigi in some cases, right? But you work a lot in a lot of different projects, movies, shows.
Yep.
When you're considering a part, what are you looking for?
Money.
Shut up, Bill.
Shut up, Bill. Well, I want to make sure that the one.
Because I know you've done things that probably didn't pay you that well, but they were really good.
Well, one of the things I do is I look at the script and I think, okay, like there's a budget of $500. I'm getting $300, and so they don't have a lot of money left for the rest of the movie, the rest of the cast and crew and stuff. And then I start thinking, and there's a scene in this where I am like, they've wrapped a chain around my ankle and I'm dragged behind a pickup truck on a gravel road. And I'm just thinking, how are they going to do this? And then you talk to the director and they go, well, you can do this. I mean, we're just going to, we'll put a blanket under you. We're just going to drag you. And I just go, I don't think so. So that's the one thing. I make sure that I'm not going to get killed.
Or injured or damaged.
Yeah, and I don't do gratuitously violent, stupid stuff. I mean, it's kind of hard to say because I, kill people with a claw hammer and a straight razor, but there are some scenes that are like brutal, for the sake of brutality, but they're kind of stupid. I don't really like that. I don't like hurting animals. So stuff like that. I don't know. Not that I've been given a lot of scripts. Okay, and this one, you kick the donkey,
You kick the dog. What?
You kick the dog.
No.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
What was the hardest scene to film in Chainsaw Massacre 2?
The hardest scene?
Yeah.
I don't remember any hard scenes. I mean, I just had so much fun. I had never done that before. That meaning acting and being, a center of attention. They shaved my head for the part, so I had never had my hair shaved off, so that was also very liberating. And I just was Chop Top for about 8 weeks. And I never really had I can't really remember, I don't think I really had a hard scene like that. I mean, everything I did was with a lot of joy. I just was so into it. I didn't realize that, and because it was, for me, it was a discovery process because I grew up in Barrington, not too far from here. My dad, worked in a company that made, tank cars. We're not actors, and it never occurred to me that you could actually do this for a living. And I got on the set of Texas Chainsaw, and I was making like $2,000 a week, which was insane. I mean, I was in New York before that as a freelance writer, making maybe $350 a week. Good news is I had a cheap apartment, but I never knew that you could actually do this and make a decent wage. And I had the kind of fun I was having. It was like I was really. That's why when people ask, what do you like, Otis or Chop Top or Luigi or whatever, I mean, it always goes back to Chop Top because that was like, holy shit, you can do this for a living? Are you kidding me? This is like a career? And I came late to it. I didn't do Chainsaw until I was, I think, 36 when I did it, or 35, I guess. And, before that, I was a freelance writer in New York, and, I worked in advertising for a little while. That was, that wasn't good. So I just didn't know that you could actually do this for a living. And I'm so grateful that, one thing leads to another, especially because this is my favorite genre. When I was a kid, I would crawl down, I would, step over the creaking boards at midnight. There used to be a show on called Shock Theater. Some of you guys might remember that. And, just stuff like that. I mean, that's what I was into. And so to actually, be a grown-up and, to have that as a career and to be able to do that and, make money and have I'm in a union, so I picketed and, I've raised 2 kids. I mean, it's fucking awesome. And, it's like, it was one of those kind of a pinch me moments. So, very happy to do what I do. And P.S., in my genre, in this genre, the older and uglier you get, the more work you're on. How cool is that? I'm down.
Looking back on your performance as Chop Top, are there any changes that you wish you would have made, or you're like, I wish I could have done something different there?
Not really. When I was finished, it was July 4th of 1986. We had just shot for 24 hours because Canon Films was going to pull the plug on the production. So we just crammed it overnight and got everything done. And we were a wrap, and I went back to my little trailer. It wasn't a trailer, it was a honey wagon, like a little compartment. And I was getting ready to, I was taking my clothes off, putting the regular clothes on. Actually, I'd already done that in the wardrobe trailer. So I was in my civvies. There came a knock at the door, and I opened it up, and there was Toby's wife at the time, Karen Hooper, who was our wardrobe mistress. And she had an open cardboard box with Chop Top's wardrobe in it. The purple tie-dyed shirt, the bell bottoms, the whole deal, the vest, the whole thing, as Chop Top can show you there. And she said, here, this is for you. And this was 1986, so this is pre-eBay and everything. And I took a look and I said, I would never wear any of that. And so I rejected it. Well, fortunately, the set photographer said, I'll take it. So he took it, and of course, I started to regret it later. And but about 15 years ago, I got a call one night from the set photographer, and he said, look, I'm trying to empty my storage locker, and just wondering if you wanted your costume. And I said, yeah. And so I ended up, getting the original Chop Top costume, which is in my closet. And then I also had, I got an email from a guy who was friends with the main makeup guy for Chop Top, a guy named Sean McEnroe. And Sean had taken, Tom Savini and Sean had taken the 2 head plates that I had as Chop Top. And this guy was emailing me and said, look, Sean wants to know if you want to buy the head plate. And I was like, geez, yeah. You know, and I talked to a friend of mine, and I said, how much should I offer the guy? Because I didn't want it to go to eBay and get outbid, because that was going to kill me. And he said, offer him like $1,500. So I was thinking, God, that's a lot. So anyway, I did that, and I had a friend deliver the cashier's check, and it was up in Seattle. It was some secret meeting at a Starbucks. And you got the money, you got the plate. I did all that. So I got the plate. I got the plate, and I got the costume. So it's very cool. And just a couple, 3 weeks ago in Spooky Empire, another big horror convention in Florida, I did a Bill Johnson Leatherface, and I did a in-costume photo op as Chop Top. And I have a great girl named, her name is Nora Hewitt, and there's a show on TV called Face Off, and she won a season of Face Off. So she's the only one that I let do the Chop Top makeup, because if you screw it up, it looks really stupid. And so just 3 weeks ago, did a wonderful photo op as Chop Top with Billy Bob, Leatherface, and we had a ball. So.
I love Face Off. I love Mike and Mackenzie Westmore so much.
All right.
Like so very much. So like amazing family of artists. All right, last and final question real quick. What advice would Bill Moseley give to Otis?
Give to Otis?
Mm-hmm.
Give yourself up.
I think that's a perfect way to end this. Thank you, Bill. One facing the audience. Audience members, stand up and get in this selfie.
All right.
So we're not taking
we're gonna
someone
stand
else
up.
taking it. So but he can get a better angle than he can.
Okay, taller.
Or I turn it around so he can go in front of us. Like this.
Oh, you want me to do it?
Yes, take it so we can get everyone in.
Awesome, guys.
We're coming out there. We're gonna be most of them. We're in this though. I wrote down a bunch of movies that
Yeah, I seen you with like stuff I didn't even know he was doing.